Okay, so today we will be preparing the British rack of lamb and loin chops. So we're going to do this into different joints, some cutlets, some chops, and then we're going to take the fillet off as well. The equipment we will be using today is a pair of red handled scissors, a deboning knife, and a long steak knife. Also going to be using a chantry knife sharpener. So, first job is to make sure the knives are nice and sharp. And after we've done that, we just need to run the knives underneath the tap to make sure there's no metal filaments left on the knife. So when we've done that, the first thing to do is just do a visual inspection of the package, make sure the packaging is still airtight and it hasn't blown anywhere, so it's still in good condition, which it is. And we're just going to open the packet with a pair of scissors. And we just need to conduct a secondary visual inspection of the joint to make sure that it's not discoloured in any way. Take off the plastic. It usually helps. Yeah, so basically making sure the joint's in good condition, there's no discoloration or excess hairs or anything like that left on it, and it looks fine. So what we're going to do, we're going to split the rack into cutlets here, and we're going to split the loin side into the fillet and the loin chops. So first of all, we're just going to mark where the last of the cutlets finishes. So just there. And we're just going to cut down. Down there. So you've got the bone there, so we need to cut through the bone. So we will also be using a hacksaw as well to cut through the bones. So when that's done, that's the two individual joints, so cut through the bone. And we just need to wipe any excess bone fragments off the end of the joint. So starting with the rack here, we just need to take off that little piece of bone there, so we need to chine the bone. So it's a case of marking the rough area where you want to cut. So once you've cut through the bone, you can just pry it open working your knife way around until you take off the top bone there. This can be used, it can be wastage, or you can use it for boiling it up for things like soups and stocks, but traditionally there's not a lot of meat left on it, or there shouldn't be anyway, so we can just get rid of that. So there you have your processed British rack of lamb. So to turn this into cutlets, you just simply need to cut down in between the individual cutlets with a steak knife. Like that. So there you have your leftover rack of lamb there, and you've got your individual cutlets there as well. So what we're also going to do is we're just going to French trim these cutlets. So just taking off sort of last inch of the meat. Trying to scrape as much meat off the bone as you can, trying to clean it up. Then these little bits of wastage off the end of the cutlet can be used for mincing, or using for soups and stews and things. There we go, so that is your British rack of lamb and your British French trimmed lamb cutlets. Now moving on to the British loin chops. Now first thing I'm going to do is take off some of these bits of fat that are on it, so they don't look particularly appealing. So I'm just tidying it up a little bit. So it's the same process for the cutlets. We need to just take that bone off there, so chine that bone. First of all, we're going to take the fillet off. I forgot about that. So the fillet steak is that part there. So simply you're going to cut round the bone. Trying to scrape as much meat off the bone as you can, and then with the fillet you can simply just roll it down, so no cutting required. until you get to the join. And again, you can trim this down if you need to. Picking up a big bit of fat there. Okay, so that is your lamb fillets off the loin rack. And then with this, now we're going to take the bone off. So again, mark where you want to cut with the saw. Making sure you're keeping it steady on the chopping board. The same as before. So once you've taken off the bone, just trying to scrape as much meat off as you can. And then again, you have the chine bone there, so that would be used as wastage again. And this would now be your rack of loin chops. So completely boneless. So we can cut it into joints at this point. Just a little bit of bone there that I've left in. Just got to take that out. So that little bit of bone there. And there you have your half rack of lamb there for the lamb loin, and then you can turn that into a loin roast if you want. And then we've got the boneless lamb loin chops there, so 2 and 3. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just string this joint up. So it can be used for a roast. Just using some butcher string for this and tying it with a slip knot. put in a couple of strings in it, so when you roast it, it's easier to carve and it doesn't open up whilst cooking. There we go, and that is your boneless lamb loin roast there. So the finished products look like this. So again, the British rack of lamb, the British French trim cutlets, trimming on there, and then your British lamb loin chops, your boneless lamb loin roast there, and a little bit of lamb fillet there as well. And we've got the two little sheep bones there that we took off and we chined the bones. So this is all the wastage. And then we've got little bits and pieces there. Again, you could use those for stewing or making a stock with. We don't really deal with them in stores, so it's not exactly applicable here. So these would probably go to waste, but you try and minimize the amount of meat that's wasted, so you're maximizing the profit. So, and that's your finished products. Thank you very much.